Hello everyone. In this video, I will discuss about iterative statements in PLSQL. So iterative control statements are used when you want to repeat the execution of one or more statements multiple times. So for iterative statements, we use three types of loops in PLSQL. Those are simple loop, while loop, and for loop. Now we'll discuss each of these loop. So we'll start with simple loop. So a simple loop is used when a set of statements is to be executed at least once before the loop terminates. So let's see what is the general syntax of simple loop. So in simple loop, we have to put the executable statements that you want to repeat within loop and end loop. And then you have to mention either exit or exit when some condition. So irrespective of the condition, it will first enter the loop and it will execute the statements at least one time. Then depending on the condition, if it is true, then it will exit from the loop. If it is false, then it will execute the statements again and it will continue executing the statements as long as the condition is false. Now we'll see a while loop. A while loop is used when a set of statements has to be executed as long as the condition is true. So if we see the general syntax, we can observe that we have to mention the condition before the loop with the while clause. Now if the condition is false, then it will not enter into the loop and it will start executing the statements if the condition is true, and it will continue as long as the condition is true. Now we'll see the for loop. A for loop is used to execute a set of statements for a predetermined number of times. That means if we know that how many times statements will be executed, then we can use the for loop. So the general syntax of for loop is for counter in value 1 dot dot value 2. This value 1 value 2 is nothing but a range. Suppose we want to execute a loop 10 times. So in that case, we can use the value 1 as 1 and value 2 as 10. So the range will be 10. And counter is nothing but a variable that will hold this value, like starting from 1 to 10. And then within the loop, we have to mention the statements. The statements will be executed as many as times as the value of this range. If the value of this range is 10, then the statements will be executed 10 times. If the value of this range is 20, then the statements will be executed 20 times. Now I'll take one example to implement all of these loops, and I will use the same example that I have used in my last video where I calculated the bonus of any particular employee. If you didn't watch the video, you can watch that. I will put the link in the description box. Now I'll summarize what I did in that video. So first I declared 5 variables: employee ID, employee name, salary, department name, and bonus. And then I fetched the employee ID, name, salary, and department name from the employee and department table by using the join of department ID and passing the value of employee ID at the runtime. Then depending on the different department, I calculated the bonus. Like if the V department is IT, the bonus is 10%. If the department is HR, then the bonus is 20% of the salary. And if for any other department, the bonus is 15% of the salary. So if we run the code and pass some value of employee at their runtime, then we can see the bonus for some particular employee is 1200. Now if I want to calculate the bonus for all the employee at a time or for multiple employee, then we have to use the loop. So I'll start with simple loop. First of all, I'll remove the condition of this employee ID, because in our table if we have random employee ID, then we cannot identify them and pass them in this query. So I'll remove, and instead of that I will use the row num for each record. So I'll use row number over and order by empid. And if you don't know about this row number, then you can watch my SQL video of row number that you will find in the description. So I'll use row number order by employee ID, and I'll put some alias name here. So row underscore num, and now I'll run this query. I'll comment out this into, and I'll run that. So here you can see we are getting the sequential number for each row, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I will use this number to fetch the record. Now I'll use the loop. So I'll write loop, and within a loop I'll use one variable I, and the value of the variable will be incremented by 1, and that will checked with the row number. For that I'll first declare the variable I, and I'll put the value of this variable as 0. This is called initialization of the variable. And within the loop I will write I equal to I plus 1. So first of all, the value of I is 0. Now it is I plus 1, that means it is 1. And also initially for the first record the row number is 1, so I'll put that condition. So I'll use the entire thing as a subquery, and I'll copy this, and I'll write this as subquery where row num equal to I. So here we'll write one from clause, and I'll remove the semicolon from here, and the value of, for first iteration the value of I will be 1. So if I use 1 and if I run this, so we'll get the first record. Again, if I use 2 here, obviously we'll get the second record. See, so the value of I will be like from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will check the row number using this where condition, and it will fetch that particular record, and within the loop we'll calculate the bonus for that each record, and we'll print the output. So now we need to put some exit condition from the loop, else it will become an infinite loop. For this I will put the condition as exit when I equal to 6, as we have 5 employees, and we'll print all the 5 records. After that the value of I will be 6, and at that point of time it will exit from the loop. So now I'll put all of this into the variables in the outer query like this, and I have to put one end loop at the end like this, and then I will run this particular script. So now you can see we are getting the output of all the employee at a time. So the bonus for 5 employees we are getting. Now if we want to implement the same thing using while loop, then I'll remove this exit condition from here, and before the loop I'll put the while condition like while I less than 5, Then I will start the loop and I'll put I equal to I plus 1, and the rest of the thing will be same. And then now if we run this, so I'm getting the same result. Now lastly, if I want to use this using the for loop, then I'll remove this while condition and I'll remove this condition, and just after the loop I'll write for. Just before the loop we have to write for I in 1 to 1 dot dot 5, and that's it. All the things will be same, and if we run this we'll get the same output. Now here we are using the number of employees as a fixed value, which is 5. But if the number of employees is a dynamic value, like if the employees increases or decreases from the employee table, then we have to find out the employee count first, and then using that count we have to calculate the bonus and print those bonus. So to implement this, I'll first uh, use a count star from the employee table, and I'll put that count into some variable like v underscore count, and that count I'll declare as a variable number. Now whatever the employee count, that will be stored into v count variable, and we'll use that v count instead of 5. So I'll write v underscore count here and use one semicolon here. So now this is perfect. So we are getting the same result.